بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We saw the sad and the tragic event of the attack at the hotel in Nairobi, for which the responsibility was claimed by Al-Shabaab. And the justification that was presented was that this was in retaliation for Donald Trump moving the embassy of United States to Jerusalem in Israel. Now, here is what is happening, that we are finding this particular streak within the Muslim mindset, and as a result, it is giving a very negative outlook of Islam to the broader world. And to the extent that they are associating fanaticism, extremism, such brutal acts of violence with the teachings of Islam. Now, we know for a fact that this is not Islam. If we look at the glorious state of Islam, that the Blessed Prophet came to a people who are a warring people, described as barbaric people, people who are intolerant and merciless. The religion that he brought about refined morality within them. They became people of great learning. They became people who are spiritually centered with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Religion, when it came with the Prophet to those people who had lost sense of human values, instilled within them a sense of lofty purpose, nobility, morality, virtue, spirituality. It is a great shame that the same religion today is being associated with everything that the Prophet came and reformed through his religion. So here is what I wanted to say, that religion is productive. It has to be productive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot ordain anything that is inconsistent with human growth and refinement of human morality. He cannot ordain anything that does not draw humanity to a refined state of spirituality and godliness, which entails tolerance, forgiveness, acceptance of the other, positively contributing harmonious coexistence, all the beautiful values that the Blessed Prophet enacted within his community. The community was so broad that they embraced the multi-faith community of Medina. The Quran repeatedly gives salvation to the people of other faith on the basis of God centricity and on the basis of righteous deeds. The community was so broad that even after the era of the Prophet, they were going to different parts of the world, interacting with religions that were considered outside the folds of Abrahamic faiths, and were giving them the status of Abrahamic faiths so that they could coexist harmoniously with people of these faiths, and possibly even to intermarry. So this is the broad-mindedness, the beautiful humanness that the Prophet brought with him in his religion, that transformed a barbaric society and made them role models for humanity at large, and expanded their horizons and expanded their thinking. The same religion now is being associated with everything that the Prophet came to change. So the problem is not with religion, and indeed the problem is not particular to the Muslims. It is a problem with the waywardness that is found within humanity, which is then justified in the name of religion. If the Al-Shabaab are committing their actions through justifications from the Quran or theological justifications, then we may look towards the Zionist state of Israel, where so many people are justifying the oppression of the Palestinians on the basis of their theology and their inhumane acts towards the indigenous of that place through their theology, that they are the promised people, it is their promised land, and anybody other than them is less than human according to some interpretations. Also that God will not bring them to account for the wrongdoings that they are committing, or that they are the chosen ones of God and the children of God, as the Quran states. So this is not that Judaism teaches them those things. It is not the case that Judaism, the one that Quran talks about as why do the people of the book do not uphold the Torah and the Injil? Why do the Jews not uphold the Torah? If Torah was in essence inhumane, ungodly, God would not tell them to uphold the teachings of the Torah. And indeed, God would not give them paradise on belief in God and committing righteous deeds and being responsible to God on the day of judgment. So it just shows that the teachings of Moses in essence are godly. But if some within the Zionist state are using the teachings of Moses to justify transgression against Palestinians, then this is perversion of religion and not the dictate of religion. And therefore it's a human problem. Similarly, the Hindus, when you see at times when Muslim-Hindu issue flares up in India nearing elections, at times the present BJP formally, they were responsible, some major individuals, for committing heinous acts of inhuman nature against the Muslims. There again, the Hindu theology prompted them to bring about justifications. Similarly, the expansion of our British Empire in the period of the colonial period, one of the justifications was a theological justification that was taken from Christianity. It does not mean the Christian religion is a religion that is inhumane or a barbaric religion, or a religion that ordains less than what is deemed as befitting for human existence, or is an immoral or a religion that lacks in spirituality. No, Christianity is a beautiful religion as acknowledged by the Quran and the reverence that the Quran gives to the Christians and to the Christian faith, and he asks them to uphold the Injil. Similarly, we cannot associate the acts committed by extremist groups to Islam. This can only be described as perversion of something that is wholly godly and human friendly. And this perversion exists due to the human frailty that wishes an outlet for its unchecked want of aggression and conquer through religious justifications. I do see in the last 20 years that humanity as a whole has grown, and they are beginning to understand that acts of aggression committed in the name of religion are not dictates of religion, rather perversions of the mind, who then use religious texts out of context to justify their actions. But having said that, this is just an analysis, and slowly and gradually people are awakening. Having said that, there is still a responsibility upon us, upon Jews, upon Hindus, upon Buddhists, upon Christians, upon Muslims to introspect and to see that here our religions are being hijacked by a few. Their perverted ideologies are not born through religion, but are justified through selective religious texts that they seek to interpret in accordance with their perverted minds. We need to take the stakeholdings of this, and we say that truly there is a problem, and we do need to address this problem by clarifying without any hesitation that this is not what the religion says. Now here is a problem. As soon as you say that religion does not say this, what will happen? A text of religion would be brought out. That there you go, your religion says this. I do not wish to lengthen this khutbah, but one or two points are pertinent and they need to be made. So when the EDL protest against Islam as being a barbaric faith, we ask the EDL, I'm hypothetically asking the EDL, what of the Quranic message is barbaric? Is the message be God-centric and spiritual and God-like barbaric? They will say no. Okay. Is the Quranic message of having human virtues, being truthful, being just, being kind, looking after your parents, looking after the orphan, just trade, is any of this barbaric, not being oppressive? They will say, no, it's not. We'll say then in that case, that is the majority of the message of the Quran. Are the historical accounts of the previous prophets within the Quran, with the moral anecdotes, are they barbaric? They will say, indeed not. We will say, is the cosmology that the Quran is giving, or the embryology that the Quran is giving, or the beginnings of life that the Quran is talking about, are any of these barbaric? They will say no. So we will say, now, why don't you tell us, because we've given you the most majority content of the Quran, what is barbaric? They will say, cutting off the limbs. We will say, and how many verses does that constitute? They will say, one verse. Cut off the hands. Okay. Stoning, where is it in the Quran? Oh, it's not in the Quran. Flogging, okay, fine. Cutting off the heads, where is it in the Quran? Oh, it's not in the Quran. 2 female witnesses to 1 male witness. So they come out with certain individual verses from 6,300 odd verses. So we say to them, what else? They say, well, the Quran is very harsh about the people of the book. I will say, is it? Have you read the Quran? In the Meccan period, it talks so highly of the past prophet. In the Medinan period, the Quran guarantees salvation to the people of the book and says you can marry the people of the book, interact with them, live as one family. Is that barbaric? They say, no, the Quran says, do not take them as friend. They are friends of each other. So here is the problem. Here is the problem. That the Quran in its entirety is beauty from God. There are certain selected verses of the Quran that are mere handful, that are being taken as the sole message of the Quran. And this is what then feeds the extremist ideology, their wayward thinking, and gives them justification. Taking slaves, right-hand possession. How many verses are there? Here, therefore, the preachers, the scholars need to come out now. The Christians have the same thing in their Bible. Quran does not have stoning to death, but the Testament has stoning to death. Chopping limbs off. The Quran doesn't have it. So here is the real challenge, that the Muslim scholars and the mind needs to awaken and to say that the real message of the Quran is a spiritual message, is a moral message. The rest of those verses need to be analyzed in terms of that great spirituality and morality and the virtuous system that the Quran is giving. The essence of the Quran is human nobility. We know this. The few verses of slavery that are there are to be interpreted in their own context. That the prisoners of war that we talk about today, in the past the system was of taking slaves. It was not seen as immoral back in the time when it came. In fact, the Prophet in the Quran initiates the whole process of emancipation of slavery. It was never meant to be an eternal verse. Chopping off the limbs was a pragmatic method for the protection of society back in the day. We need to protect the society. The only means they had back in the day was to chop off the hand as a deterrent. Male and female rights were contingent upon the capacity of the society. If the society does not have capacity, you can't give. Today, in Britain, the rights for voting for youths are at the age of 18. In 100 years from now, a 10-year-old will be able to vote because a 10-year-old will have the capacity that today's 18-year-old has. At that time, they cannot look back at the 21st century UK and say that they were backwards. Think about this carefully. The women did not have the right to divorce within the Western societies. They did not have the right to inherit or use their own wealth. The Blessed Prophet came 1,400 years ago. Look at the Reformation. He gave them right to divorce. He gave them right of ownership. He gave them protection. He gave them equal dignity. And he initiated this trend within his own limitation, and the limitations were suffocating, and yet he did all of this. So here is a duty incumbent upon the Muslim scholars. And if the Muslims take a lead, then our Jewish cousins and Christian cousins and Hindu cousins and the Buddhist brothers can all take from our lead. So here is something that we need to do, that we acknowledge that religions are beautiful in essence. But at the same time, there is human perversion. Then human perversion needs justification. And that justification is coming from a handful of the verses of the Quran that are not even applicable in the modern day, because their value was in their form confined to that era. In their essence, they are alive. And the essence is what? Protection of society, good, just, fair governance of society. So there is no justification to commit such barbaric acts against any creature of God. I will go even as far as to say that today we are talking about human rights, but I certainly hope that I live to see the day when we stand here and we talk about the rights of animals. And we talk about it being totally abhorrent to consume the animals the way we are consuming them today, the way we are treating them. But that is a step that we need to take in the future. We need to first address this immediate problem, that we have a cancerous problem that has infested the Muslim religion and beautiful souls, 1.7 billion people who are nothing but beauty of God, who can embrace humanity at large and grow with humanity as one humanity. As the Quran says, immediately say to the people of the book, because the context was the people of the book, otherwise the Quran will say to humanity as a whole, say to the people of the book, come to that which we hold common, that we will not worship other than Allah. 1,400 years ago, who can justify killing of anybody in the name of the Quran? Those contextual verses do not take Jews and Christians as friends because they are friends, because they were conspiring against the Prophet, and this verse came at that point. It was for the immediate situation and to remedy that. There was nothing more to it than that. We sadly lost the grandmother of our dear Hassan Somani. Can we pray a Surah Fatiha for her blessed soul and for the sister of our beloved Murabi Hussein Bhai Merali that we lost in Toronto, for them and for all our marhumin and those beautiful souls that were killed so unjust in Kenya, for all of their blessings. Yes, let us recite Surah Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin tahirin al-ma'sumin. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Just building on the first khutbah and very, very quickly finishing this segment of the sermon, that there is a book that you will find as you come into the building within the reception area, which is entitled Islam and God Centricity, critiquing our fundamental assumptions. Now, these are edited lectures from the series of talks that one gave on the occasion of Muharram in 2016 in Manchester, and there are two more books to come in this series. Now, this particular book, in a very calm, subtle, and at times wordy manner, addresses the issues that we have been talking about. That we need to critically evaluate our assumptions that we hold. And it takes the reader very gradually through the assumptions that is there a purpose for our existence? Is there a God? If there is a God, how invested do we become in a purpose? What is the nature of religion? Is it sacred? What do we mean by sacredness of religion? What are the types of communications within Islam? Which one of them are essential? Which one of them are non-essential? Is Prophet central to the story of salvation? What is the meaning of salvation? Or is he integral? What is the nature of the Quran? Which part of the Quran is essential? Which part of the Quran is formalistic? What is the meaning of the role model of the Prophet? How do we understand the Prophet? What is the nature of the Imams in their capacity as role models? Do they really have all the unseen knowledge in a sense that they don't have any test? Is that in sync with the Quran? What does the Quran say? So these are some difficult questions that the book asks and goes through. But in that, it very fundamentally challenges certain notions that we've been talking about. That are the people that are not Muslims in the formal sense, are they people who are condemned by God? Is this assumption accurate? What does the Quran say about it? What does the human condition say about it? Are we as Muslims guaranteed salvation? And indeed, what is the meaning of salvation? So these are some of the very pressing issues and the questions that the book is dealing with, and it's a very, very easy read. And of course, I feel a sense of embarrassment talking about my own book. I don't know how to launch a book or what it means to launch a book in any case. And of course, I was put in this hotspot to talk about it in the second khutbah of Juma, so therefore forgive me for even talking about it. But even if I say so myself, it is a nice read. I read it myself. And I mean, all credit goes to the beautiful editors some of them are sitting here, and some who have helped in the whole process are not there. But when I read it, I said, wow, this reads good, it can't be me. So please take a copy. Of course, it comes at a cost, and all good things do have a price, you know that, right? Finally, may we recite a Surah Fatiha for the dear brother who has donated the lunch that we will have after the Juma. Not pray Fatiha for him, obviously. Pray Fatiha for his family and his beloved, and pray Fatiha for him in the sense that, by the way, let me just clarify this. Fatiha is supposed to be prayed for living people, essentially. Yes? But when we say, let's pray Fatiha for him, we say, well, I'm not dead yet. So in advance we are praying it, if that's the case. Now that joke doesn't go well, does it? Let's pray Fatiha for his marhumin and all our marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد المصطفى وعلى علي المرتضى وعلى فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بأرض كربلاء وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي وحجة الله بن الحسن القائم المهدي المنتظر. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.